Hey friendo, it's actually good to see you back. As always, I enjoyed watching your video, and it's pretty interesting to understand your position and, in general, opposing positions to the positions that I hold. And like always, I invite discussion to pretty much any opinion that I hold. Now, about this, I'm not sure whether or not it was a misunderstanding of what I meant when I said fairness. But when I said fairness, what I actually meant was more on the grounds of uh, gender equality rather than just what feels right and or wrong. Now, the main reason I consider this to be a gender equality issue is because right now women have the ability to force parenthood on an unconsenting party. Now, the thing is, the problem with being able to force parenthood on people is not only about the financial part of it, but some people, myself included, are just simply not interested in ever having children. And for somebody to have the power to force me to be a parent against my own will seems to me extremely problematic, especially when parenthood comes with legally binding responsibilities. And now, let's just assume that what we're talking about here is actually a case of either unprotected sex or a failure of birth control. In these types of cases, um, it's either both of their fault or none of their fault, equally. But the only one in power here who has the ability to decide the fate of both of them one way or the other is the woman, because the guy can't change whether or not she's pregnant, and it's only based on her choice alone. Now, I would completely agree with you if babies were born immediately at conception. But the fact of the matter is that she still has 9 months to go until the baby is actually born, and she has plenty of time to decide to opt out of this pregnancy. Now, what I'm arguing here is that the case should be that once the father is notified about this pregnancy, and in my opinion, he must be notified about this pregnancy for him to be responsible for the child, unless you can prove that she had no idea about the pregnancy herself until it was actually too late for her to abort the baby, in which case I do believe that both of them should be financially responsible for the child, since she had no option to opt out of the pregnancy either. But if she knows that her partner is not consenting to be a parent and is not consenting to provide any kind of financial support to her or the baby, it doesn't even really matter if it's 50% or even 3%. I don't think it makes any difference whatsoever. Uh, since she already knows that this guy is not interested in having any part of raising this child, and despite this fact, chooses to go ahead and have the baby, it's as if she herself is consenting to be a single parent and being the sole financial provider for this child and taking care of this child by herself. So basically, to put it simply, if you don't think that you can raise this child by yourself and take care of this child by yourself and provide for this child by yourself, then don't fucking have the child. It's up to you to decide whether or not you want to keep it. And since you decided you want to keep it despite the fact that nobody else is willing to help you with it, and you still went ahead and done it, well, that should be your problem. Bringing a child into this world isn't a decision that anybody should be taking lightly. And it seems that reckless mothers are able to somehow force the burden onto other people just to make it easier. And what this causes is actually reckless mothers going ahead and bringing unwanted children into this world and taking this decision extremely lightly simply because they have the security of somebody supporting them whether he wants it or not. And obviously, this is extremely problematic. And it seems that what you're arguing for is exactly that. That reckless mothers should indeed have the ability to affect the future of an unconsenting parent permanently and possibly fucking his life completely simply because that's what she wants to do and that's what she feels like doing. I'm going to try to use an analogy here, but I myself am not sure how good it is, but in any case, it's pretty much the only thing I could think of. Try to think about it like this. Let's just say that me and you decide to open a business together, and everything's going smoothly at first, and everything's going fine, and we make money, and everything's okay. But then all of a sudden, a mega corporation decides to open a competitive store right next door. And at that point, I decide, hey, I think it's time we actually sell our store, share the profits, and that's it. We should bail. And then you tell me, well, I think the store actually has potential, and I think that we could actually make this business bloom. And I don't really care much about the competition. It's fine. I mean, everything's gonna be fine. The world's a magical and wonderful place, and you know what I mean. And I decide, hey, I honestly don't want to continue being your partner anymore now that everything's gone to shit, or at least that's the way I think it's gonna go. Now, let's just say that you decide to run this store on your own, and you eventually lose a shit ton of money and end up being in debt. Now, am I responsible for any part of your debt? I would argue I'm not, because I have decided to bail right when I've noticed that things are going downhill. But you, by a selfish decision you have made, decided to keep on going, even though you had the ability to bail the same that I did. But you decided not to take that, and instead take your chances with taking care of the store by yourself. And since you have decided to do that, the debt should be your own, and your former partner should have no responsibility whatsoever to helping you get out of debt or taking care of any part of the responsibility towards this business. As always, I welcome any kind of response you might have, and it's actually good to be talking to you and having discussions with you again. We haven't been doing this in a long time. Peace. Oh, and on a side note, I actually have no objection whatsoever for the law to require potential fathers for paying half or even all of the cost of the procedure of having an abortion. Basically, I see no reason why fathers shouldn't be, given the fact that the pregnancy is both of their problem, but the child, the potential child, isn't. So the pregnancy, since he is equally responsible for her being pregnant, he should be equally responsible in helping her getting rid of this pregnancy. And I would even argue that perhaps the father should need to pay all of the cost of the procedure, since it's her body that is being put at risk by this procedure. Again, I have no objection to this, and trust me, I'm pretty sure that the unconsenting parents in this situation would be more than glad to pay for the cost of the abortion rather than paying for taking care of a child for 18 years.